Okay, my uh, disease I did is West Nile virus, and a little bit about it, a few facts. It is a member of the Flavivirus genus. It is a member of the Flaviviridae family. It is also the most prevalent arthropod-borne virus in the U.S., as our textbook points out. It is also carried by mosquitoes, mainly the Culex genus. They are the Culex is the main vector for the disease. It's also a neurotrophic disease, which means it can affect the central nervous system. Also, the first known case took place in Uganda in 1937 in the West Nile district. It showed up in the United States in 1999 in New York City. It was a strain from Israel, and that was 1999. And also, as far as the structure of the virus, it is the genome has 11,000 nucleotides. It makes 10 proteins. It's spherical. It's about 50 nanometers in diameter. Very small. It's a positive stranded RNA with a icosahedral nucleocapsid. So it's has a polyhedron that's with 20 sides to it. The nucleocapsid made up of C proteins, has a lipid bilayer that contains an envelope. It has a structural proteins M and the E dimer. And also moving on to the life cycle. It involves several steps. So the first one is attachment and entry via receptor-mediated endocytosis and it merging with an endosome. And then the endosome undergoes acidification, allowing the genome and the nucleocapsid to enter the cytoplasm. And then translation of the RNA takes place, and then you have the processing of the viral proteins, and then there's the replication of the genome. And then the virions are assembled and they go through, that's one source, but Evans and Rossi mentioned, it goes through the ER Golgi secretion pathway and then it achieves maturation. Then it gains an envelope as it goes through the endoplasmic reticulum, and then it ends up leaving the cell by exocytosis. And so how is it acquired? So it's mainly seen, West Nile virus is mainly seen in mosquitoes, seen in mammals. Example there is horses, seen in birds, some rodents, as the textbook points out. Of course, humans get it. Blue jays, crows, and sparrows can have billions of virus particles, can have a high viral load in them. Their viremia can be extremely high, and this allows them to give it to mosquitoes very easily. Birds end up having it for several days. That's the period in which they can pass it on. There are about 300 bird species that have died from the virus. Interestingly, chickens can get it, but apparently they don't have much of a problem with it. One source mentioned in the NPR interview said that the poultry industry just was really not had much of a concern with the virus. It hasn't caused them any big hiccups or anything. As far as how the transmission cycle, what that's like, it's mainly involves just back and forth between birds and mosquitoes. That is the main cycle there. And birds, they can have extremely high viral load of it. They can really pass it on quite easily. They horses and humans can get it, but they are dead end hosts. They don't have enough of a viremia to to be able to pass it on to mosquitoes. And going back to birds, they are the main amplifier. They can just have such high counts, they can pass it along easily. Plus, they can fly large distances and pass it on there, so they really help the virus out big time. The infection generally takes place in the summer, and then we see a drop off around September. This one source points out there's no known it passes directly from animal to humans. A little bit about mosquitoes. So there's 65 species that are known to carry the virus, and the main vector, Culex, is the Culex pipiens complex group. A little more about that, you have Culex pipiens, subspecies pipiens, which is mainly seen in the north, and then in the south, we mainly see Culex pipiens, subspecies quiquid fasciitis. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Also, there is Culex tarsalis, and I think that species may be seen more in the Midwest area. Also, virus is transmitted via saliva, and as far as the mechanism, the virus can get into tissues, the blood, the lymph nodes, where it can cause infection. It can affect macrophages, dendritic cells. So right off the bat, it's kind of already hitting at components of the immune system. It can get through the blood-brain barrier and attack the central nervous system, where it then attacks neurons, and virologists they're not exactly sure how it gets through this barrier. As far as signs and symptoms, about 80% of the people who get the virus don't have any symptoms. About 20% end up with a fever, and they may end up with something like joint pain, diarrhea, vomiting, body aches, headaches. A very small percentage end up with a central nervous system illness. About 1 in 150 may end up with one of these, and this can involve everything from encephalitis to acute flaccid myelitis to meningitis. And symptoms in this category can include paralysis, disorientation, neck stiffness, vision loss. About 10% of those with the near-invasive form of the disease end up dying, and most in this category are people with encephalitis or acute flaccid myelitis. As far as diagnosing West Nile virus, there are several ways. They use everything from enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay, which is ELISA, and that uses the IgM antibodies. There's cell culture involving virus isolation, spinal tap, brain tests such as MRIs and EEGs. And as far as treating it, there is no vaccine to treat it. There are vaccines for horses, but one day hopefully there will be a vaccine for people. In addition, people can take over-the-counter medication for pain and ease headaches. Also, supportive care may be necessary. Hospitalization. This can involve nursing care, medication for pain relief, and intravenous fluids. Moving on to prevention, the CDC recommends an insect repellent that is registered with the EPA, and they say that this should include one of several ingredients, and these can include DEET, picaridin, to decanone, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, oil of lemon eucalyptus, paramethanediol, and IR 3535. In addition, the CDC recommends that people wear pants, long sleeve shirts, and that they treat their clothes with 0.5% solution of permethrin. That can be put on tents as well, and mosquito nets. The CDC also recommends, as far as prevention, that people have screens on their doors and windows that don't have any holes to let mosquitoes in, and that people use mosquito nets. These can be great if you live in an area where mosquitoes can get around you. Using one while you sleep can be really important. That is one place that you would want to use it if you need it. Also, don't allow water just to sit and collect mosquitoes and eggs. Just about every week, throw it out, change it. You want to do this with your bird bath, your buckets, anything that can have water that's just sitting for a long period of time.